Muscular Sterile CEO attends a gala alone, shocked to see his ex-wife with kids who look like him. Whispers started rippling through the crowd. Other guests glanced between him and the children with barely concealed curiosity. Someone laughed, nervous, knowing. The kind of laugh that accompanies secrets everyone pretends not to see. Have you ever had your entire understanding of yourself proven wrong in a single moment? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. He built an empire on cold logic and careful calculations, until the night he saw his own face staring back at him from two children who couldn't possibly exist. Have you ever seen your own reflection in a stranger's face? Have you ever had your entire reality shattered in a single glance? Tonight, a man who thought he knew his own limitations discovered children who shared his DNA. Children that medical science said he could never have. What would you do if your past walked back into your life, carrying secrets that could destroy everything you believed about yourself? The crystal chandeliers cast geometric patterns across marble floors where Chicago's elite mingled in designer silence. Cole Harrington moved through the crowd like a shark through still water. Purposeful, untouchable, alone by design. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom hummed with the kind of conversations that built empires and destroyed reputations. Everyone wanted something from the tech mogul who'd revolutionized cloud computing before his 35th birthday. Cole reached for champagne, his Armani jacket fitting his broad shoulders like armor. 5 years of brutal work had carved his body lean and hard, matching the reputation that preceded him into every room. Women approached with calculated smiles. Men offered partnerships with hidden agendas. He deflected them all with practiced indifference. Then his world stopped. Across the room, surrounded by Chicago's medical elite, stood Danielle Martinez, his ex-wife, the woman who'd vanished from New York 5 years ago without explanation, leaving only divorce papers and silence. She wasn't alone. 2 children clung to her elegant black dress, a boy and girl who couldn't be older than 4. Their hair caught the light like spun gold. Their small faces turned toward the crowd with curious eyes. Eyes that were ice blue, sharp, intelligent. His eyes, Cole's champagne glass, slipped from fingers that had never trembled during billion-dollar negotiations. The crystal shattered against marble, drawing stares he didn't notice. His pulse hammered against his collar as those impossible children laughed at something their mother whispered. The boy's jawline, the girl's nose, the way they both tilted their heads when listening. Every feature a mirror of his own face. But that was impossible. The Boston Fertility Clinic had been clear. Comprehensive tests. Multiple doctors. The verdict that had shattered his marriage. Cole Harrington was completely, irreversibly sterile. Whispers started rippling through the crowd. Other guests glanced between him and the children with barely concealed curiosity. Someone laughed, nervous, knowing. The kind of laugh that accompanies secrets everyone pretends not to see. Cole started moving before conscious thought caught up. His body cut through silk dresses and tuxedos with singular focus. Conversations died as he passed. The crowd parted like they sensed the storm building in his chest. But Danielle saw him coming. Their eyes locked across 30 feet of polished marble. Her face went white as winter. Those children, his children, looked up at her with concern that tore something loose in his chest. She grabbed their small hands and ran. Cole followed, his long strides eating up ground, but Danielle knew the hotel's layout. She disappeared through service corridors he'd never noticed. By the time he reached the marble steps outside, she was gone. Chicago traffic swallowed them like they'd never existed. Cole stood there breathing hard, his reflection staring back from the hotel's glass doors. The same face, the same eyes he'd just seen in 2 children who couldn't possibly be his. But they were. Every instinct in his body screamed the truth his mind couldn't accept. If this story has you asking questions already, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Have you ever discovered something that made you question everything you thought you knew about your own life? As Cole stood on those marble steps watching Danielle disappear into Chicago traffic with children who bore his face, one thought burned through his mind. If he was truly sterile, then someone had been lying to him for 5 years. The question was who and why. The most dangerous moment in any man's life isn't when his enemies attack. It's when his carefully built walls start crumbling from inside. Cole's penthouse stretched 40 floors above Lake Michigan, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city like a portrait of power. But tonight, the view looked different, smaller somehow, like the world had shifted while he wasn't paying attention. He paced the Italian marble floors, his mind racing through possibilities that made no sense. The children's faces haunted him, not just their resemblance, but something deeper. The way the little girl had wrinkled her nose exactly like he did when concentrating. The boy's habit of running his hand through his hair when nervous. Details no one could fake. His phone buzzed. Text messages from colleagues asking about the scene at the gala. Cole deleted them without reading. Let them gossip. Right now, only one thing mattered. The memory hit him like physical pain. Danielle crying in their Manhattan bedroom. The fertility test results scattered across Egyptian cotton sheets. Dr. Hamilton's clinical voice echoing from the phone. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrington. The tests are conclusive. You'll never father children naturally. He remembered how Danielle had held him that night. How her tears had tasted like salt and broken dreams when he kissed them away. How they made love desperately afterward, as if passion could overcome biology. Have you ever had your entire understanding of yourself proven wrong in a single moment? What would you do if the medical diagnosis that shaped 5 years of your life might have been a lie? 6 months later, she'd filed for divorce. Irreconcilable differences, the papers it said. But Cole knew the truth, or thought he did. She wanted children. He couldn't give them to her. Love wasn't enough to bridge that gap. Now, staring at the Chicago skyline, another possibility clawed at his mind. What if the diagnosis had been wrong? What if she'd left not because he was sterile, but because she was already pregnant? The thought made him sick. Cole pulled up his contacts, scrolling to a name he'd sworn never to use again. Marcus Chun, private investigator, former FBI, the kind of man who found answers regardless of how deeply they were buried. The phone rang twice. Cole Harrington, Marcus said without preamble. Didn't expect to hear from you again. I need everything you can find on Danielle Martinez. Current location, current name, family situation. Everything. How deep you want me to go? Cole's reflection stared back from the window. A stranger with hollow eyes and questions that wouldn't stay buried. All the way to the bottom. Give me 24 hours. The line went dead. Cole continued pacing, his mind churning through scenarios, each one more devastating than the last. If those children were his, if Danielle had lied about everything, if 5 years of his life had been built on deception. His phone buzzed. Marcus, already working. The message was simple. Initial search complete. You sitting down? The private investigator's first report arrived at dawn. Danielle Martinez, now Danielle Chun, married to Dr. Kevin Chun in Seattle, mother of twins Marcus and Maya, age 4. But the birth certificates showed something impossible. Conception date exactly 9 months after their last night together in New York. She built a perfect life on the foundation of one devastating lie, until the day her past called to demand the truth. Queen and Hill stretched before him in Pacific Northwest perfection. Craftsman homes with manicured gardens where Seattle's medical elite lived comfortable lives behind picture windows. Cole sat in his rental car outside 1247 Highland Drive, studying the house that held his stolen family. White picket fence, swing set in the backyard, soccer ball forgotten on the front lawn. Everything he dreamed of during sleepless nights in his empty penthouse. Everything he'd been told he could never have. The front door opened. Danielle stepped out, coffee mug in hand, her dark hair longer now, catching morning light like silk. She'd changed, softer somehow, the sharp edges of their Manhattan life smoothed by motherhood. Behind her, 2 small figures tumbled onto the porch. Cole's breath caught. In daylight, the resemblance was even stronger. The boy, Marcus, had his stubborn cowlick. The girl, Maya, wrinkled her nose exactly like Cole did when thinking. His children, no doubt, remained. Danielle said something that made them laugh. The sound reached him through closed car windows, hitting his chest like a physical blow. These were the voices he should have heard first. The footsteps that should have run to him. 5 years of bedtime stories. 5 years of scraped knees and Christmas mornings. 5 years stolen from him. But by who and why? Have you ever rebuilt your entire identity to escape a truth too painful to face? What happens when that truth finds you anyway? Cole waited until Danielle loaded the twins into a silver SUV and drove away. Then he followed, keeping distance between their vehicles as she navigated Seattle's morning traffic toward Queen and Elementary. He watched her walk them to the school entrance, bending down for hugs that lasted longer than necessary. Protective, loving, the kind of mother he'd always known she'd become. When she drove to Victrola Coffee on Capitol Hill afterward, Cole made his move. The shop buzzed with laptop-wielding freelancers and medical residents grabbing caffeine between shifts. Danielle sat alone at a corner table, her wedding ring catching fluorescent light as she stirred sugar into her latte. Cole ordered black coffee and approached her table. "Hello, Danielle." She looked up, and the color drained from her face. The mug slipped from her fingers, hot coffee spreading across reclaimed wood like spilled secrets. "Cole." His name came out strangled. "What are you? How did you?" "Beautiful children," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. "They have your smile." Her hands shook as she reached for napkins. "I don't know what you think you saw, but they have my eyes." The words hung between them like a verdict. Danielle's breathing became shallow, rapid. Fight or flight response in full activation. "You were declared sterile, Cole. We both remember that day. Do we?" He leaned forward, voice dropping to dangerous quiet. "Because I'm starting to wonder what else I might be remembering wrong." Danielle stood abruptly, chair scraping against concrete floors. She fumbled for her purse, her phone, anything that might save her from this moment. "Those children have my eyes, Danielle. We both know what that means." She turned, face pale as Seattle fog. "You were declared sterile, Cole. We both remember that day." His smile was razor sharp. "Then one of us is lying. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who profit from our deepest fears. And sometimes the cure is more devastating than the disease." The Boston Medical Complex stretched like a monument to modern medicine, its glass towers reflecting clouds that moved too fast, casting shifting shadows over secrets buried in patient files. Cole stood in Dr. Hamilton's former office, now stripped bare except for filing cabinets the FBI hadn't seized yet. The fraud investigation had started 3 months ago. Medical licenses revoked. Criminal charges pending. Dozens of patients discovering their diagnoses had been falsified for profit. Mr. Harrington, the clinic administrator, Janet Wells, appeared in the doorway holding a thick folder. "I found your records. You're not going to like what's inside." Cole's jaw tightened. "Show me." She spread documents across the empty desk. Lab results, test summaries, doctor's notes in Hamilton's distinctive handwriting. "Your original test from 5 years ago," Janet explained. "The ones Dr. Hamilton filed with your insurance." Cole scanned the numbers. Normal sperm count, excellent motility, perfect fertility markers across every category. "These results show I'm completely fertile." "Exactly." Janet pulled out another sheet. "But here's what he told you and your wife." The falsified report painted a different picture. 0 sperm count, complete sterility, no possibility of natural conception. Cole's hands curled into fists. He lied. "Gets worse." Janet hesitated. "We found payment records. Someone paid Dr. Hamilton $50,000 to alter your results." The room tilted. "Who?" Janet handed him a bank transfer receipt. The payment source made his blood freeze. Danielle Martinez, his wife. "How many life-changing decisions have you made based on information that turned out to be false? What would you do if you discovered someone had deliberately destroyed your future?" Cole stared at Danielle's signature on the payment authorization, his mind reeling. She hadn't just known about the lie. She had orchestrated it, paid for it, destroyed their marriage deliberately. But why? There's more, Janet said quietly. We found Dr. Hamilton's personal notes. Apparently, your wife was already pregnant when she requested the false diagnosis. The words hit Cole like bullets. Pregnant, already carrying his children when she convinced him he was sterile. When she held him while he cried about their broken future. When she made love to him with tears on her cheeks, whispering that it didn't matter, that they'd be okay. All lies. Every kiss. Every comfort. Every promise. Cole's phone rang. Marcus, his investigator, found something interesting about Mrs. Chin's timeline. Marcus said without preamble, flight records show she left New York 3 days after visiting a pregnancy clinic. Timing matches her divorce filing. Send me everything. Already on its way. But Cole, there's something else. The clinic receptionist remembers her. Said she seemed terrified. Kept looking over her shoulder like someone was following her. The call ended. Cole stood alone in the gutted office where his life had been destroyed by medical fraud and his wife's betrayal. But Janet's words echoed. She seemed terrified. What if Danielle hadn't been the villain? What if she'd been another victim? The medical records Cole uncovered showed the truth in black and white. Dr. Hamilton had falsified his test results, declaring fertile men sterile to cover up his own malpractice. But the file contained something else. A handwritten note from Danielle requesting the false diagnosis. She hadn't just known about the lie. She had paid for it. She had 5 years to prepare for this moment. 5 years to craft the perfect explanation for the inexplicable. She wasn't ready. The Chin family's living room felt like a museum of the life Cole had been denied. Finger paintings on refrigerators, scattered toys, the warm chaos of childhood he'd mourned for years. Danielle stood frozen by the kitchen island, her face white as the marble countertops. Behind her, 2 children built block towers on the hardwood floors, their voices bright with innocent chatter. "You can't be here," she whispered. Cole closed the front door behind him, the click echoing like a gunshot. "Those are my children. Kevin is their father." Biologically, Cole's voice carried the edge of a man who'd spent 48 hours discovering how thoroughly he'd been betrayed. "Because I have DNA tests that say otherwise." Danielle's hands shook as she gripped the counter. "The doctor said you were." "Dr. Hamilton's in federal prison." Cole pulled out the medical records, spreading them across her granite counter like evidence in a trial. Fraud, malpractice, falsifying test results for money. Her eyes went wide, scanning the documents. Real results showing his perfect fertility. The payment authorization with her signature. $50,000, Daniel. "You paid him to lie to me. You don't understand. Then make me understand." Cole stepped closer, his presence filling the space between them. "Make me understand why my wife destroyed our marriage. Why she stole my children. Why she's been living a lie for 5 years. Have you ever made a terrible decision thinking you were protecting someone you loved? When does love become betrayal?" The twins looked up from their blocks, sensing tension in adult voices. Maya, his daughter, studied Cole with curious eyes that mirrored his own. "Mommy, who's the tall man?" Danielle's composure cracked. Tears spilled down cheeks that had once fit perfectly in his palms. "Go to your room, babies. Mommy needs to talk to the man. But I want to show him my castle." "Now, Maya." The children obeyed, but Marcus, his son, paused in the doorway. "Are you making Mommy sad?" Cole's throat closed. The boy's protective instinct, the way he stood between his mother and perceived threat. "Pure erringuton stabor loyalty." "I'm trying to understand something," Cole said carefully. "Something that happened before you were born." Marcus nodded seriously, then disappeared upstairs. Cole heard doors closing, muffled voices. "They're mine." It wasn't a question anymore. Danielle collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in hands that still bore his wedding ring mark, faint but visible after 5 years. Yes, the word hit him like a physical blow. Relief and rage warred in his chest, along with something deeper, a paternal ache he'd never expected. "What?" She looked up, tears making tracks down her cheeks. "Because she would have killed you." "Who?" "Your mother." As Cole stared into Marcus's eyes, his own eyes, The boy asked innocently, "Mommy, why is the man crying?" Danielle's voice broke as she answered, "Because sometimes grown-ups lose things they didn't know they wanted to keep." That's when Kevin walked through the front door. Kevin Chun had spent 4 years believing he'd rescued a heartbroken woman, until the day he realized he'd been living inside someone else's love story. The afternoon lights streaming through gauze curtains turned the living room into a stage where 3 adults stood frozen in a tableau of broken trust, while 2 children played with blocks, building towers that would inevitably fall. Kevin's medical bag hit the hardwood floor with a thud that made everyone jump. His scrubs were wrinkled from a 14-hour surgery, but his mind was sharp enough to read the tension crackling between his wife and the stranger in his living room. "Danielle." Kevin's voice carried the controlled calm of a man who delivered life-changing news for a living. "Who's this?" Cole turned, and Kevin saw the resemblance immediately. Those same ice-blue eyes that stared back at him from family photos. The same stubborn jawline Maya inherited. The same way Marcus held his shoulders when defensive. "Dr. Chun." Cole extended his hand. "Cole Harrington, I believe we need to talk." Kevin didn't take the offer handshake. His gaze moved between Cole's face and the twins, still playing nearby. Puzzle pieces clicking together in his surgeon's mind. "Daddy Kevin." Maya bounced up, wrapping herself around Kevin's legs. "Look what we built." Kevin lifted her automatically, his heart breaking as she snuggled into his neck. For years of being her father, for years of midnight fevers and bedtime stories, 4 years of loving children who shared another man's DNA. "They're beautiful," Kevin said quietly, his eyes never leaving Cole's face. "Marcus and Maya, they're everything to me. I can see that." Cole's voice carried unexpected respect. "But they're biologically mine." Kevin set Maya down gently. "Kids, go play in your room for a few minutes. Grown-ups need to talk." Marcus hesitated. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, buddy." Kevin's smile never wavered, even as his world collapsed. "Just some boring adult stuff." What's worse, being the person who lies or the person who discovers they've been living a lie? How do you rebuild trust when the foundation was never real? After the children disappeared upstairs, silence stretched between the 3 adults like a loaded weapon. "How long have you known?" Kevin asked Danielle. She couldn't meet his eyes. "Kevin, I can explain." "How long?" "Since before I met you." Kevin's composure cracked. His hand raked through black hair that had started graying from surgical stress. 4 years, Danielle. 4 years of marriage. 4 years of me believing they were mine." "They are yours," Danielle said desperately. "In every way that matters. You're the one who taught Marcus to ride a bike. You're the one who stayed up with Maya when she had pneumonia. Biology doesn't make you their father. Love does." Cole's jaw tightened. "Biology makes me their father. Love makes me want to be their dad." Kevin studied the man who'd unknowingly shared his family for years. Cole's expensive clothes couldn't hide the raw hunger in his eyes when he looked at the children. The desperate need of a man discovering what he'd lost. "Get out of my house," Kevin said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Kevin's voice was deadly quiet when he finally spoke. "Get out of my house." But he wasn't looking at Cole. He was looking at Danielle. "Pack a bag. Take the kids. Don't come back until you figure out which life you actually want to live." The lab results arrived on a Tuesday that would split their worlds in half. Some truths are too powerful to contain. The Extended Stay America hotel room smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and broken dreams. Danielle sat on the polyester bedspread, watching Marcus and Maya color at the small table, their innocence a stark contrast to the legal documents scattered around her. Cole knocked 3 times. Soft, measured. The sound of a man learning to be gentle around children who startled easily. "Daddy Cole." Maya ran to the door before Danielle could stop her. The word hit Cole in the chest. "Daddy." She'd said it naturally, like she'd been practicing. "Hey, princess." He lifted her carefully, still learning how much 4-year-olds weighed, how they fit against broad shoulders designed for boardrooms, not piggyback rides. Marcus looked up from his coloring book. "Are you staying for dinner?" "If your mom says it's okay." Danielle couldn't speak around the lump in her throat. Cole holding their daughter, Marcus calling him by name without fear. The family dynamic she dreamed about but never thought possible. The test results came back, Cole said quietly. She nodded. They both knew what the envelope contained. 99.9% probability of paternity. Scientific proof of what their hearts already knew. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that their entire family structure has changed overnight? What matters more, biology or the bonds formed through daily care? What happens now? Danielle asked. Cole set Maya down, his movements careful, deliberate. Now we figure out how to be a family. Kevin's their father too. I know. The admission cost him, but Cole had seen how the twins looked at Kevin. 4 years of bedtime stories and scraped knee bandages couldn't be erased by DNA. This is complicated. Most worthwhile things are. That evening, Cole attempted his first bedtime story. Maya insisted on the 3 little pigs, while Marcus wanted dragons. Cole compromised with a tale about 3 little dragons building houses. And the big bad wolf came. Cole growled, making Maya giggle. But the dragons were too smart, Marcus added seriously. They worked together. Exactly. Cole glanced at Danielle, who watched from the doorway. Sometimes the strongest things are built by people who learn to trust each other. After the twins fell asleep, Cole and Danielle sat in the hotel's cramped kitchenette, sharing takeout Chinese food and 5 years of silence. Why didn't you tell me? Cole asked. Because I was scared. Of me? Of her. Danielle's voice dropped to a whisper. Your mother made it very clear what would happen if I stayed pregnant with your children. Cole's chopsticks clattered against the container. What did she say? That she'd destroy me. My family. Everyone I loved. She said you'd never believe me over her. And she was right. The pieces clicked together. Victoria Harrington's controlling nature. Her hatred for anyone who threatened her influence over Cole. Her wealth and connections making threats credible. I should have fought for you. You couldn't fight what you didn't know existed. As Cole read the twins their first bedtime story, Maya touched his face and whispered, "You smell like mommy when she cries." That's when Cole realized Danielle had been mourning him all these years, and that changed everything about his anger. The worst betrayals come wrapped in love, and the deepest wounds are inflicted by those trying to heal us. They sat in Cole's rental car outside Danielle's childhood home in Tacoma, rain drumming against windows like accusations, while she finally told him about the phone calls, the threats, the impossible choice his mother had forced her to make. She called me 2 days after I found out I was pregnant, Danielle said, her voice barely audible over the storm. Said she knew about the baby. Cole's knuckles went white against the steering wheel. Ow! Dr. Hamilton, your mother was his biggest investor. The betrayal cut deeper. His own mother, the woman who'd raised him, who'd claimed to want grandchildren more than anything. She'd been monitoring his medical care, controlling his fertility treatments, manipulating his marriage from the shadows. What did she threaten? Danielle's laugh was bitter. Everything. My job. My family's restaurant. She had photos of my sister's immigration paperwork. Threatened to have her deported. Said she'd make sure I never worked in marketing again. Is it possible to love someone differently the second time around? Can people really change? Or do we just learn to see them differently? But the money, $50,000 for the false diagnosis. She gave it to me. Danielle turned to face him, tears reflecting streetlight. Said it was payment for disappearing quietly, for making sure you never knew about the pregnancy. Cole's world tilted again. You took her money. I took her money to protect our children from growing up with a grandmother who saw them as weapons against you. Rain pounded harder against the car roof. Danielle's childhood home sat dark behind them, windows reflecting their fractured conversation. I was 26 years old, Cole, pregnant with twins. No family money, no connections. Your mother had armies of lawyers and unlimited resources. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to trust me. With what? The truth she'd already convinced you couldn't exist. Danielle's voice broke. You mourned our future children, Cole. I watched you cry about babies you thought you'd never have while they were growing inside me. How could I tell you they were real when doing so would destroy everything you'd worked for? Cole stared through rain-streaked glass at the modest house where she'd grown up. Working-class neighborhood, chain-link fences, the kind of place his mother viewed as beneath consideration. She threatened your family, my pregnant sister, my parents' restaurant that employed 12 people. Everyone I loved. Danielle wiped her eyes. Victoria made it clear. Disappear quietly or watch everyone I cared about suffer. So you chose them over me. I chose them over letting her use our children as leverage to control you for the rest of your life. The truth hit him like lightning. Victoria would have used the twins as weapons, threatening their welfare to ensure Cole's compliance. Danielle hadn't just been protecting herself. She'd been protecting him and their children. When lightning illuminated her face, Cole saw not the woman who had left him, but the woman who had sacrificed everything to save him from his mother's poison. I never stopped loving you either, she whispered, and the words hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they were brave enough to cross. Victoria Harrington had spent 30 years perfecting the art of control, until the day her son stopped being controllable. Victoria's Gold Coast mansion rose like a monument to old money and older secrets, its polished marble floors reflecting lies that had been carefully maintained for years. Cole walked through the front door without knocking, his footsteps echoing through halls lined with family portraits, generations of Harringtons who'd built their fortune on other people's weakness. Darling, Victoria emerged from the sitting room, arms extended for an embrace. Cole didn't return. What a lovely surprise. Though you look terrible. Have you been sleeping? We need to talk. Her smile faltered at his tone. Victoria Harrington had raised 3 sons, buried 2 husbands, and controlled a family fortune for decades. She recognized danger when it stood in her foyer, wearing $1,000 suits in cold fury. Of course. Let's have tea. No tea. No games. Just truth. Victoria led him to her study, where floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan. The same view from his penthouse, but from a different angle. Everything in the Harrington family came down to perspective. Whose version of reality won? I found them, Cole said without preamble. Victoria's mask slipped for just a moment, long enough for Cole to see calculation behind maternal concern. Found who, darling? My children, the ones you convinced Danielle to hide from me. How do you forgive a parent who destroyed your happiness, believing they were saving you? When does protection become control? Victoria poured herself brandy from a crystal decanter, her movements steady despite the bomb Cole had just dropped. I protected you from a gold digger who would have trapped you with children and bled you dry. She never wanted my money. They all want money, Cole. That girl just played a longer game. That girl is the mother of your grandchildren. Victoria's laugh was sharp as broken glass. Children you were never supposed to have. Dr. Hamilton confirmed your sterility. I saw the results myself. Hamilton was a fraud. You knew that. Cole stepped closer. You paid him to lie. I paid him to protect your future. You paid him to destroy my marriage. Victoria's composure cracked. She was beneath you, working-class trash who saw dollar signs when you proposed. I saved you from years of supporting her family, from children that would have tied you to mediocrity forever. Cole's voice went deadly quiet. Those children are the best parts of me and her. They're brilliant, beautiful, and everything I never knew I wanted. You're being emotional. I'm being a father. Cole pulled out his phone, showing Victoria photos from the hotel room. Marcus building block towers. Maya reading picture books. 2 children who'd grown up without their biological father because of her manipulation. They don't even know me. My son asks if I'm making his mother sad. My daughter thinks Kevin Shun is her only daddy. Tears Cole hadn't shed since childhood burned behind his eyes. 5 years, mother. 5 years of their lives you stole from me. Victoria's face hardened. And I'd do it again. That woman will ruin you. She already did. Cole headed for the door. And now I'm going to let her do it again. Victoria's final words cut through Cole like a blade. I saved you from a gold digger who have trapped you with children and bled you dry. Cole's laugh was sharp as broken glass. Mother, those children you were so afraid of, they're your grandchildren, and you'll never see them again. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing to build a future despite it. Discovery Park stretched before them in Seattle's golden hour light, where a man who'd never held his own children learned to push swings and catch falling toddlers on monkey bars. "Higher, Daddy Cole." Maya shrieked from a swing, her legs pumping air. Cole's chest tightened every time she said it. Daddy Cole, like she'd been saving the words her whole life, waiting for him to claim them. Marcus hung upside down from the jungle gym, his face red with effort and joy. "Look what I can do." "Careful, buddy." Cole positioned himself underneath, ready to catch. "Don't want you getting hurt." "I won't fall. I'm strong like you." The words hit Cole harder than any business deal he'd ever closed. Strong like you. This boy who'd grown up without him still carried pieces of his DNA, his stubborn confidence, his refusal to quit. Danielle sat on a nearby bench, watching Cole navigate playground politics with the focused intensity he'd once reserved for hostile takeovers. When Maya demanded he go down the slide first to test if it's safe, he complied without hesitation, his 6'2" frame barely fitting the equipment designed for preschoolers. How do you rebuild trust with someone who hurt you to protect you? Can love survive years of separation and lies? "You're good with them," Danielle said when he joined her on the bench. "They make it easy." Cole watched Marcus attempt monkey bars, his small face scrunched with determination. "They don't know enough to be afraid of me yet." Kevin taught them that men can be gentle. The name hung between them, a reminder of the other man who'd shaped his children's understanding of fatherhood. Cole should hate Kevin Chun. Instead, he felt grateful. He loves them. He does. Danielle's voice was soft. "He's been a good father. Better than I would have been 5 years ago." She looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" Cole was quiet for a long moment, watching Maya attempt to climb a rope net with serious concentration. 5 years ago, I would have seen them as possessions. Proof of my legacy. I would have tried to control their lives the way my mother controlled mine. And now I just want to know them, to earn the right to be called their father. The admission cost him, but it was true. Seeing Marcus's gentle nature, Maya's fierce independence, they weren't extensions of his ego. They were complete people who deserved better than his old patterns of possession and control. Danielle's hand found his on the bench between them. Electric shock traveled up his arm, the same spark that had ignited their first touch 8 years ago. "Cole! Daddy Cole!" Maya ran over, grass stains on her knees and dirt under her fingernails. "Will you come to dinner tomorrow? Mommy makes really good spaghetti." Cole looked at Danielle, question clear in his eyes. "Tomorrow's Kevin's night with the kids," she said carefully. That evening, as Cole tucked Maya into bed for the second time in his life, she asked the question that stopped his heart. "Daddy Cole, are you going to leave us again?" Before he could answer, Danielle appeared in the doorway, her eyes holding the same question. In family court, love isn't measured by intensity. It's measured by presence, consistency, and the courage to put children first. The King County Courthouse gleamed wet with morning rain, where 3 adults who loved the same children prepared to let strangers decide their family's future. Cole adjusted his tie, the same nervous gesture he'd made before every major business presentation. But boardroom victories felt insignificant compared to what waited inside that courtroom. This wasn't about market dominance or profit margins. This was about earning the right to call himself father. "You ready for this?" Danielle asked. They stood together on the courthouse steps, an unlikely alliance born from shared concern for Marcus and Maya. Kevin approached from the parking garage, his wedding ring notably absent, but his determination unchanged. "Dr. Chun." Cole extended his hand. This time, Kevin took it. "Mr. Harrington." The handshake lasted longer than politeness required. 2 men who loved the same children, acknowledging the impossible situation they'd all created. "Whatever happens in there," Kevin said quietly, "those kids come first." Agreed. What makes someone a parent? DNA or daily devotion? How do you balance what children need with what adults want? Inside, Judge Patricia Morrison reviewed custody documents with a weary expression of someone who'd seen too many families destroyed by adult choices. Kevin's lawyer presented 4 years of school records, medical appointments, soccer games, a paper trail of devoted fatherhood. Cole's attorney countered with DNA evidence and financial stability arguments that felt hollow even as they were spoken. Your Honor, Danielle stood unexpectedly. May I speak? This is highly irregular, Mrs. Chun. It's Ms. Martinez again, Your Honor. And these are my children. I think I should have a voice in their future. Judge Morrison nodded. Proceed. Kevin Chun has been the only father Marcus and Maya have known. He's changed diapers, read bedtime stories, taught my son to tie his shoes. Biology didn't make him their dad. Love did. Kevin's eyes filled with tears he refused to shed in public. But Cole Harrington is their biological father. And watching him discover them has been like watching someone find pieces of himself he didn't know were missing. Cole's throat tightened. These children need both men in their lives. They need Kevin's steady presence and Cole's intensity. They need the security Kevin provides and the adventure Cole represents. Judge Morrison leaned forward. What are you proposing? Joint custody, equal time, co-parenting between all three of us. The courtroom fell silent. Kevin and Cole exchanged glances, former rivals considering an unprecedented arrangement. Mr. Chun, your thoughts? Kevin stood slowly. Your Honor, I became a father the day I married their mother. Biology doesn't change that, but they deserve to know their biological father too. If Mr. Harrington is willing to share, so am I. Cole rose. Your Honor, I've missed 5 years. I won't miss another day. The judge's decision was unexpected. Joint custody between Kevin and Cole, with Danielle as primary guardian. But as they left the courthouse, Cole pulled Danielle aside. There's something else we need to discuss. Something that changes everything. Her pulse quickened at the heat in his eyes. She thought she'd confessed all her secrets, until the night he told her about the dreams he'd been having, dreams where she never left. They walked along Puget Sound as storm clouds gathered, the space between them charged with 5 years of unspoken words and suppressed longing. Tell me about the dreams, Danielle said. Cole's hands stayed buried in his coat pockets, safe from the temptation to reach for her. Every night for 5 years, you're in our old apartment, making coffee in that ridiculous pink robe. I wake up reaching for you. Cole, in the dreams, you never leave. We raise our children together. I teach Marcus to throw a baseball. I walk Maya down the aisle at her wedding. His voice cracked. I had a whole life with you in my sleep. Rain began falling, gentle at first, then harder. They took shelter under a pier where fairy lights reflected on dark water like scattered stars. What would your answer be to a proposal that honors your independence while offering partnership? Tell me in the comments what your ideal commitment looks like. I dreamed about you too, Danielle admitted. Different dreams. Nightmares where your mother found us, where she took the twins away, where you chose her over them. Never. The word came out fierce. I chose you the day I cut her out of my life. They stood close enough now that Cole could smell her perfume. The same vanilla and jasmine scent that had driven him crazy 8 years ago. Her wedding ring was gone, he noticed. Pale skin where Kevin's symbol of commitment used to rest. The divorce is final next month, she said, reading his observation. Kevin's a good man. He is. He deserves someone who can love him completely. And you can't. Danielle looked up at him, rain making her lashes dark and heavy. I tried. For 4 years, I tried to love him the way he loved me. But you can't force your heart to forget its first choice. Cole's control snapped. His hands framed her face, thumbs brushing away raindrops that mixed with tears. Danielle, I know this is crazy. I know we have history and complications and 2 children watching our every move. I don't care. Your mother will fight us. Let her try. The media will make our lives hell. Then we'll weather it together. She searched his eyes for doubt, for the cold calculation that had once driven every decision he made. Instead, she found something that terrified and thrilled her, complete certainty. I want to try again, Cole said, not because of the children, not because of guilt or obligation, because 5 years taught me that no success means anything if I can't share it with you. Thunder crashed overhead as he stepped closer, his body sheltering her from wind that whipped off the sound. I love you, Danielle. I never stopped. I never will. Her answer came not in words, but in the way she rose on her toes, meeting his kiss with 5 years of suppressed hunger. They tasted like rain and forgiveness and the promise of second chances. As she slipped the ring onto her finger, a thought struck her with such clarity it took her breath away. This wasn't just about them anymore. There was something she needed to tell him, something that would change everything again. The first kiss after 5 years of separation wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, and tasted like forgiveness. Her apartment overlooking Elliott Bay had become a fortress against the past, but as Cole's lips found hers in the kitchen where she'd fed their children breakfast, those walls became windows to possibility. The twins are at Kevin's for the weekend, Danielle whispered against his mouth. Cole's hands tangled in her hair, longer now, softer than he remembered. Are you sure about this? I've been sure for 5 years. I just wasn't brave enough to admit it. When was the last time someone's simple touch left you breathless? Share your story in the comments. He lifted her onto the kitchen counter, the same granite where she'd once prepared family meals for another man. But this felt different, urgent, necessary, like reclaiming territory that had always belonged to them. I used to watch you make breakfast here, she confessed, her hands working the buttons of a shirt, imagining it was you instead of Kevin, hating myself for wanting what I'd given up. Cole's mouth found the curve of her neck, the spot that had always made her shiver. I bought a house in Bellevue, big backyard, good schools. You're staying in Seattle? I'm staying wherever you and the children are. She pulled back to study his face, searching for the ruthless businessman who'd once prioritized deals over dinner dates. Instead, she found a man who'd learned that some things mattered more than market share. Your company can be run from anywhere. Technology moves at digital speed, not geographical distance. Cole carried her to the bedroom, where Kevin's presence still lingered in half-empty closet space and abandoned coffee mugs. The other man's ghost should have made this wrong, but Danielle felt only rightness as Cole's hands reacquainted themselves with her body. I missed this, he murmured against her collarbone. Missed you. Their reunion was 5 years of separation compressed into desperate touches and whispered promises. Cole's hands mapped changes motherhood had made to her body, softer curves, stretch marks that told stories of carrying his children. He kissed each mark like an apology for not being there to watch her grow round with their babies. What's more intimate, letting someone see your vulnerability or showing them your strength? Comment below with your thoughts. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets that smelled like rain and new beginnings. Cole traced patterns on her bare shoulder, the same absent gesture that had lulled her to sleep during their marriage. There's something I need to tell you, Danielle said. Cole's hand stilled. What? She turned to face him, her heart hammering against ribs that had protected this secret for weeks. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between them like a bridge they hadn't planned to cross. Pregnant. Cole's voice was careful, controlled. Kevin's. Yours. She watched his face for signs of panic, retreat, the cold calculation that had once ended conversations he wasn't ready for. From last week, the hotel room. I know the timing is terrible. Cole's laugh cut her off, pure joy breaking through his usual restraint. Terrible? Danielle, this is perfect. As they lay intertwined, Cole's phone buzzed with a message that made his blood freeze. Congratulations on finding your family. Such a shame if something happened to them. Fauha. His mother had found them, and Victoria Harrington didn't make idle threats. Victoria Harrington had controlled her son's life through manipulation and money. But some things are worth more than inheritance, and some battles are worth everything. The boardroom in Chicago felt like a coliseum where gladiators fought with contracts instead of swords, where family bonds were severed with the stroke of expensive pens. Cole sat across from his mother's legal team, 5 attorneys in matching suits who specialized in destroying people's lives with precision and billable hours. Victoria herself presided from the head of the table, her silver hair perfectly styled, her smile sharp as a scalpel. This is your last chance, darling, Victoria said. Sign the custody agreement, and your trust fund remains intact. Refuse, and I'll ensure those children learn exactly what kind of man their father really is. What kind of man am I, Mother? The kind who abandons pregnant wives for business deals. The kind who chooses money over family. The kind who inherits $30 million in trust funds. Cole's lawyer, David Park, pushed documents across mahogany that cost more than most people's cars. She's threatening to leak fabricated stories to the media. Claim you knew about the children and chose to abandon them. Would you give up everything you'd built to protect the family you'd found? How do you fight someone who knows all your weaknesses? Victoria's smile widened. I have photos of you at business conferences when those children were born. Travel records showing you in Tokyo while your son took his first steps. The narrative writes itself. Deadbeat billionaire father abandons family for profit. Except none of that's true. Truth is what people believe, darling. And I have very convincing evidence. Cole studied the custody documents that would sign away all parental rights in exchange for maintaining his inheritance. $30 million versus bedtime stories. Financial security versus soccer games. No contest. You know what I learned in Seattle, Mother? Victoria's eyebrow arched. Enlighten me. I learned that my 4-year-old daughter is braver than you are. She climbs playground equipment that scares her because she trusts me to catch her. Cole stood, straightening his tie. My son protects his mother even when he's afraid because he believes love is stronger than fear. Touching. Sign the papers. Marcus asked me yesterday if I was going to leave them again. You know what I told him? Victoria's composure flickered. I told him that real fathers don't leave. They fight for their families. They choose love over money. They break patterns instead of repeating them. Cole picked up the pen, and Victoria's smile returned. Then he threw it across the room. I choose them. I choose her. I choose the family you try to steal from me. Victoria's mask finally slipped, revealing fury that had been building for years. You'll lose everything. I already lost everything once because I trusted you. Not happening again. Cole walked toward the door, each step feeling like freedom. Oh, and Mother? Danielle's pregnant. With my 3rd child. The grandchildren you'll never meet are multiplying. Victoria's voice followed him into the hallway, shrill with desperation. You'll regret this. She'll leave you again. Cole signed away half his fortune without hesitation, severing ties with his mother's empire. But as he walked out of the boardroom, Danielle was waiting with news that changed everything. She's not done with us. She's filed for grandparents' rights. She wants the twins. They said love couldn't survive lies, betrayal, and lost years. But they underestimated what happens when 2 people choose each other despite everything that try to keep them apart. The backyard of their new Bellevue home buzzed with laughter as Marcus and Maya raced between garden beds Cole had planted and Kevin helped tend, while Danielle's growing belly curved beneath her summer dress. Proof that some endings are actually beginnings. 1 year later, Cole stood at the kitchen window, watching his children play in grass he'd watered that morning. Marcus kicked a soccer ball toward makeshift goals while Maya practiced cartwheels that ended in giggles and grass stains. Kevin's here, Danielle said, appearing beside him with 2 coffee mugs. Through the sliding door, Cole watched Kevin emerge from his Honda, arms loaded with birthday presents for Maya's 5th celebration. The older man moved through their backyard like family, because that's what he'd become, not Danielle's husband anymore, but something more valuable. The twins' chosen father, the one who'd earned the title through midnight fevers and scrape-knee bandages. Still weird? Danielle asked. Still weird, Cole agreed. But good weird. What would you do if you discovered your family was built on lies, but your love was real? How do you choose forgiveness when the alternative is losing everything that matters? Kevin's custody arrangement had surprised everyone. 3 days a week, plus alternating weekends. Holiday schedules coordinated through shared calendars instead of court orders. Co-parenting that actually worked because all 3 adults had learned to put children before pride. Uncle Kevin. Maya launched herself into Kevin's arms, and he spun her around the same way he had when he believed she was his daughter. Love didn't require DNA. Cole had learned that watching Kevin comfort Marcus through nightmares, teaching Maya to ride her bike, showing up for every school play despite the legal papers that said he wasn't obligated. Some families were born. Others were chosen. The best ones were both. "Daddy Cole, come see." Marcus called from the garden. Cole joined his son among tomato plants that were finally producing fruit. Months of careful tending, watering, protecting from Seattle's unpredictable weather. Like marriage, like family, like love that survived separation and lies. "The red ones are ready," Marcus announced seriously. "How can you tell?" "They're soft but not squishy. Uncle Kevin taught me." Cole glanced at Kevin, who was pushing Maya on the swing set he'd helped install. Gratitude hit him again, sharp, unexpected. This man had raised his children to be kind, thoughtful, generous. Whatever mistakes had brought them all together, Kevin's influence had been pure gift. "Dinner's ready," Danielle called from the deck. They gathered around the table Kevin had helped Cole build. Reclaimed wood from a demolished Seattle warehouse, sanded smooth by hands that were learning to create instead of just acquire. Maya insisted on sitting between both her fathers. Marcus proudly served tomatoes from his garden. Sometimes the family you're meant to have isn't the one you planned. It's the one you fight for, forgive for, and choose every single day. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button for more tales of love that survives the impossible. Tell me in the comments, what would you sacrifice to protect your family? And remember, the strongest foundations are built not on perfection, but on the courage to rebuild after everything falls apart. As Cole watched his wife and children in their garden, a letter arrived from Boston. Dr. Hamilton's medical practice was being investigated, and they found something unexpected. Cole wasn't the only man who'd been told he was sterile. There were others, dozens of them, and their stories were about to intersect in ways none of them could imagine. But that's a story for another day.